Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled Karen thinks she deserves my property more than me and demands that I let her kids swim in my pool. She then throws her own baby into the water and calls the police on me. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. So I am originally from Brazil and I heard a lot of stories about Karens in America and knew about the memes and all that stuff. I kind of thought it was all exaggerated or made up, except for a few rare examples that I have seen proof of online. I had been going back and forth between Brazil and America for medical school before finally getting accepted to migrate into America for good. With me, I brought my wife and 2 young children. I managed to get a beautiful house that, to our delight, had a pool in the backyard. In Brazil, we loved going to the beach and swimming, but here we are nowhere near an ocean. A pool was a nice compromise that seemed to make us all happy though. The one bad thing about the property was the woman living next door. It was my first real-life interaction with a Karen, and the first thing I knew right off the bat that she was racist and did not have any issues showing it. My family had darker skin and spoke both English and Portuguese in the home. When we would speak the latter, outside Karen would give us dirty looks and has made a few comments in the past. She told me to go back to my country if I wanted to speak Spanish, and that living here meant that I had to learn to speak American like everybody else. And I guess Karen invented a new language there. But anyway, I tried explaining that I was from Brazil, but she did not want to hear any of it. She also had children, with one being the same age as my son and the other one being about 1 or 2 years old. I heard her once tell her son not to play with my son and called him a dirty Mexican. One thing that Karen hated more than anything else though was that we had a pool and she did not have anything. I'm not saying this to brag, but our house was nicer in general and it was clear that it bugged her to no extent. On one of my full days off, aka not even on call, I was spending the day in the pool with my family. I was planning on grilling later and it was meant to be a wonderful day. Well, however, in walks Karen through the gate that I did not bother to lock behind me when going into my backyard. Her older kid was wearing swimming trunks and she was standing there with the baby in one arm and hand on her hip with the other. Karen, my son wants to swim too. I told him that he could swim in your pool. Me, I'm sorry, but we don't feel comfortable letting other people use the pool. You should not have told your son that without even asking if he could swim with us first. Karen, swim with you? That's disgusting. I want you to get out and give my son a turn because you have been hogging it all day. Me, I can hog the pool all I want, since I own it. The only thing I'm going to do is to tell you to get off my property. I got out of the pool to stand my ground against her so that she would not be towering over everybody else. I could not believe the gall of this woman to insult us the entire time since we moved in and then demand we let her kids swim in our pool. Kid, Mommy, make them leave. It's my pool, mine. Karen, don't worry sweetie, Mommy is gonna make sure you get to swim. The kid was a brat, but I could not blame him much because look who was raising him. Still, I wanted to get some insults in myself after all the time she insulted me. Me, you and your brats are never gonna swim in my pool. Get out of here now. Karen, you don't even deserve this property, and I know the money you paid for it with is dirty. You people come here illegally and try to take jobs from us in our nice houses until we have nothing and then don't even appreciate what we do for you. Karen then did something I did not want to believe even though I saw it. She took her own baby and threw her right into the pool. I know that some children that young do know how to float and swim, but I was not taking that chance. I jumped into the water to pull her out while Karen used the opportunity to call the police on me. She started fake crying that I had stolen her baby and thrown it into the pool to try and kill it. She also was saying that we were drug dealers and high out of our minds and we were a danger to our kids. And I think Ripe stars that Karen here is actually talking about herself because obviously she must be on some kind of drugs and she clearly is a danger to her children. Anyway, I was in shock what she was saying, but I knew one thing that she didn't. She was gonna get a surprise when the police came and started questioning everybody. I had my family get out of the pool and had my kids go sit on the other side of the yard by their swings so they did not need to witness any more of this than they already had. When the police came, Karen was fake sobbing and told them the entire fake story of what happened. The police turned to me and honestly looked ready to arrest me because Karen gave a believable act. Policeman, you know that what you did is a serious crime, right? You can lose your green card and might even have your own kids taken away. Officer, before you do that, I think you might want to watch the footage that is on my security cameras. That's right, I have cameras set up and they have everything that happened on them, and they immediately get backed up onto my laptop. I brought it outside and the officers and Karen got a perfect image of her throwing her own baby into the water. She started yelling that I was a liar and all Mexicans were nothing but drug dealers. I told them I would be more than willing to show them medical records from the hospital where I worked that showed that I was clean. They told me it was not needed and instead arrested Karen for trespassing and child endangerment. It turns out that this was not the only time Karen had issues with her kids, and CPS got involved to see the state of how they were living. The kids were malnourished and she was not sending the oldest one to school like she was meant to be. I found out that she was divorced and the kids were now going to live with her ex-husband, who could care for them better. One day after the entire thing went down, she yelled at me in front of my house because she was losing money, because she did not have her kids anymore, and it was all my fault. No, lady, it was your fault for acting entitled and endangering your kid when you did not get your way. I hope her kids are being raised better and she never gets custody of them again. She also better never go on my property again, because if my cameras catch her, I won't hesitate to call the police. And yeah, ripe stars, I think it is very clear that this woman was on drugs, because no normal, rational person would act like this. Either way, I am happy for the kids because I think they got a better life now with their dad, and I'd wish that Karen would go to therapy or rehab or something. The next one is titled Karen and Starbucks. So this is not my first post here, and I'm sure it won't be my last. I am deaf and have been since I was 12, and from then on I learned sign language and really focused on learning how to lip read because all of my friends were hearing. Our story begins a couple days ago when me and a good friend of mine, known each other for over 10 years, were in line at Starbucks. Honestly, I was pretty nervous, as most of the time I just used the mobile order because it is a lot less pressure on me and it is less time consuming for the barista. But of course, today my phone had died, and luckily I had a friend with me to calm me down, and there was a pretty long line, but we did not mind and we just signed while we waited for our turn. When I see the lady in front of us at the counter, I can tell she is angry as she is throwing her hands up in the air, but of course she is facing away from me, so I don't get to know all the juice. I asked my friend to sign what she was saying so I could gossip with her, so she starts interpreting, and here's what went down. EP, you're honestly the worst cashier I've ever met. Where's your manager? Today's your last day at work and I'm gonna make sure of it. Barista, I'll be right back. Just let me go get my manager for you. In the meantime, just step right over there so these two ladies can get through. The barista turns around and leaves when the EP looks back at me and my friend. EP, of course, Starbucks is always something I didn't understand, and yet I'm always put last. Me, I'm sorry, I cannot hear you, I'm deaf. I said this while signing. EP, so they're gonna serve an idiot over me? I've been waiting longer and they should really serve the normal people first. She said something after that, but I was so shocked that I stopped reading her lips. Friend, are you kidding me? She is just deaf and she deserves just as much respect as you. Don't start calling her abnormal just because you cannot effing hear, you idiot. The manager came in from the back to calm everyone down. EP apparently told the manager that I was throwing up gang signs when my friend told him she is just deaf. What do you want from her, lady? And then EP went off on the cashier for attempting to have other people cut her in line. EP was asked to leave and my friend and I got our drinks for free. And man, did it feel good to wave at that Karen while she was huffing in her car with my free coffee. And the next one was posted on r/ripe stories and it is titled A Haunted House Story. And by the way, before we read this story, just a little warning. This story is a little bit more mature than usual, so it might be a little violent, but honestly, it's not too bad. Written by user Infinite Emotions. Well, it is October and the heat wave finally broke where I live, so I thought I would share a Halloween tale. When I was a kid, late 80s for context, there was a guy in our neighborhood who would charge kids a quarter for a tour of the yard of the neighborhood haunted house and tell us the story of how the house became haunted in the first place. And by the way, guys, if there are any haunted houses where you are from, I would love to hear about them, because these haunted houses are actually quite common here in Thailand. At least from what I observed, a lot of people here actually believe in ghosts, much more so than in the West actually. Now, it's been a while. I've probably gotten details wrong, so I tried looking it up to refresh my memory, and there's nothing online about a haunted house in that neighborhood. So there is a good chance the guy was making up the story to tell a bunch of gullible children, but he spun a wild and awesome tale, so I feel we got our quarter's worth of entertainment. This was an older house, something like this, but older and a lot more decrepit. According to what I remember of the story, the house was built by a man in the late 30s for his wife. He had bought the entire land where the neighborhood now resided and was going to start a small plantation just for the two of them. He got drafted for World War II and forced to travel overseas, leaving his pregnant wife alone to manage what there was of the plantation. She did a fantastic job, the orchard they were planting was thriving. She had to hire some hands to help her with it, but she managed them well. Her husband, meanwhile, survived the war and came home. He came home to strange men. There was no such thing as a female farmhand back then, roaming the property and speaking to his wife. He had also been changed by the horrible things he had seen in the war, and his first thought was not to praise his wife for taking care of everything and still raising their son, but to accuse her of sleeping with the farmhands. Over and over. And then over again. One night the farmhands who were living in the tents on the land heard horrific screaming and raced into the house just in time to see him throw his wife over the railing of the second story. She landed headfirst on the floor and died instantly. The man saw the farmhands in the house and went even crazier. He grabbed his gun and began shooting at them, saying he was gonna hunt every one of them down like the vile animals they were. He tripped with the gun and then shot himself, bleeding out before anyone came to help. And to this day, if you are near the house, you can hear that last night. You can hear him ranting and calling her horrible names, and if you listen closely, you can hear her sobbing as she begs for anyone, to save her. The next one is titled Gas Revenge. So several years ago, my friend, we will call him Boris, and I would always help each other to do the spring cleanup for our properties. This included taking out damaged trees, preparing garden plots, and taking care of our weed-infested yards. I was gonna be the first on the cleanup detail, so I prepared tools and implemented the Friday before the big cleanup was to happen. Sharpening tools and chainsaw chains, lawnmower blades, and just getting everything in order. Among those tasks was mixing head with 2-cycle oil, finished up kind of late and generally put things away for the next day. The next morning Boris shows up with coffee and biscuits around 8 AM. As we were sitting on his tailgate enjoying breakfast, my neighbors ride by in their beat-to-hell Chevy Cavalier smoking like a freight train. We will call them Rocky and Bullwinkle. Boris and I made the usual jokes about the amount of smoke pouring from the exhaust. Damn, I bet they go to the gas station and fill up with oil and check the gas. We soon finished breakfast and thought no more about it. As we begin to get the tools laid out and had a plan of attack, I cannot find my gas cans. No mixed gas, regular gas, or a gas can in general. That is when it dawned on us why the car Rocky and Bullwinkle we are driving was smoking so bad. I am pissed to say the least. Well, all Boris and I could do was go shopping for gas cans, gas, and more 2-cycle oil. After we returned and we saw Rocky and Bullwinkle pass by several times, but all in all, we got a lot done. The next weekend we dedicated to clean up at Boris's. A weekend or two go by and we have a family dinner at my wife's, Rocky and Bullwinkle's grandparents. Towards the latter part of the evening, we were having a few drinks. Most people had left and myself and wife's grandfather were shooting the breeze when I had to take a leak. As I was doing so, I saw a gas can with very distinct paint on it. I inquired from the old man about how it came into his possession, and he stated Rocky and Bullwinkle left it there. I simply explained it was mine, as was another, and loaded them in my truck. It ate at me every time that POS car with my post neighbors went by. So then I hatched a plan from a rotten egg. I went and bought a few gallons of gas, a few gallons of diesel fuel, and some other various oils. I made a concoction of these different chemicals and filled my new 6-gallon gas can I had to purchase. With some clean gas, I filled a lawnmower and cut some grass that evening, making sure Rocky and Bullwinkle saw me. Then I put everything away but forgot and left that rotten egg gas can out. I got up and went to work the next morning and did not even think to check on the can. But when I got home, I checked and it was gone. My wife informed me that my plan must have worked as she watched Rocky and Bullwinkle go in and out with the car, not only smoking, but spittering and sputtering as well. The last time they rode out, they did not ride back in. They gave me about an hour of peace before they came over and wanted to know if I could look at the car and see what was wrong. If it could not be fixed on the side of the road, maybe tow it home. My response? I've had a long day and have a migraine. Maybe tomorrow. I saw the panic set in when I told them that. That is when they told me they had no insurance and it was on a main road. Tough luck. So the highway patrol did run across it and had it towed. It was going to cost them around $500 to get it out of impound, plus they had to have current registration and insurance. The car was not worth it. Well, they are those types of people that good luck just falls on them, and the pastor for a local church gave them an old Ford Taurus. Or Taurus, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Either way, it took me a few cans of rotten egg gas, but I got the motor to lock up after about a month. This time it quit in their grandparents' yard. So they scrapped it, and as luck would have it, they got their income tax returns. They bought a nice looking Ford F-150, but it began having problems too. It smoked really bad. They did take it to a mechanic that eventually found the problem. He got the truck running right again for about $1,500, and I've never had any more gas come up missing. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, that was an absolutely brilliant petty revenge story. I'm just glad that nobody's stealing gasoline from me, because my motorcycle is already drinking enough as it is. By the way, if there are any motorcycle riders in the comments, then please let me know what kind of bike you are riding. I'm here with my CB650F. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow.